Back in our guests again, just to discuss some of the things Sandra was picking up. Let's just remind our viewers exactly who we have with us tonight. We have Austin Rasmussen from Republicans Abroad, John Rains from the IHS based in London, Ahmed Bedier from
United Voices for America.
United Voices for America, sorry, sir, and Catherine Solon from Democrats Abroad. Now, some very interesting notes coming out of the demographics talk. Of course, that's the big point at this election, particularly in places like Florida, as we discussed earlier. The changing face of America, John, is really going to change how candidates work and how elections are going to go in the future.
No, I think that's exactly it. I mean, what's always been happening these last 2 or 3 elections, we've had the same states. Every time they go Republican, they go Democrat. And what's interesting about this election is the number of swing states. It's dramatically risen. And not only has it gone up, but we're seeing different places actually attractive for different candidates. Like the industrial Midwest, when I was growing up, that's Democrat country. Republicans shouldn't have any business at all going into those states, yet we see Hillary Clinton campaigning in Michigan. The last week of the election, she's obviously worried about it. And then conversely, we see the Deep South, right? That's Republican territory. And we see viable pathways for Clinton to get results inside North Carolina and also into Virginia.
Absolutely. And well, Georgia at the moment is too close to call, and that's a true red state. I mean, it's probably an easy question to you, Ahmed, but what do you put this down to?
Well, I'm from Florida, and I see the changing demographics there. And let's face it, the demographics, or the changed demographics, is going to decide the election. They continue to do so. In 1988, there was something like 88% of voters were white. Now it's 70% of voters are white. And as you get less and less white voters, that means less and less votes for the Republican Party. You know, they're a dying breed, and they're going to have to make some changes quickly in order to get some of the minority voters, some of the Hispanics and African Americans. They have to appeal to them. And, you know, for the past 2 elections, they've been saying this, but they haven't done it. It's like they're going the other way. And so it's very telling. It's not looking good for the Republican Party if the trend continues the way it's going. They're going to have to do something drastically different. But again, the minority vote is making a huge difference here, because then that's where it's making some of those states become more competitive, especially in Florida.
I mean, it's not just minority, of course, it's women voting more readily as well. I mean, Austin, as Ahmed said, the Republicans have known about this for the past 2 elections, and yet still put a man in place who, on his first day, upset, I almost used another word then, upset a huge demographic in the United States. It's a mistake, that.
I tend to agree with both here to an extent in the way that, well, anyways, Trump being the nominee, I think we can all agree just now that the Republican Party is never going to be the same. It is effectively changed, and it's effectively changed because of Donald Trump. A lot of people would attribute the divide in the party to Donald Trump, and I disagree. I think Donald Trump is the result of a divide that has existed for quite some time, dating back to the Tea Party movement, Obamacare, and these types. So when we look at the demographic shifts in the United States, that doesn't mean that now the Democrats are going to start winning in landslide elections because minorities are increasing in the United States. What it does mean is that the Republican Party is going to have to think about its strategy and going to have to reflect. But again, this is why Donald Trump is in the position that he's in right now, because the establishment and the leadership within the Republican Party have not been listening to their constituency and have not been listening to the people that have put them there. And so that's why we're seeing that divide in the party now. But again, the party has effectively changed. Whether Trump wins or loses, the day after the election, the Republican Party is going to have to regroup and find strategies to reunite the core and reunite the party altogether.
Absolutely. I mean, Catherine, it would be, you would have thought, a simple path now for the Democrats, but they're really struggling with it because, as Austin rightly says, the Democratic Party still doesn't speak to some of those minorities correctly and doesn't really engage with them in the ways that perhaps they should.
Yeah, the Democratic Party thought these trends were going to take us to landslide victories in 18 and 20, but it could take us to a landslide in 2016. And we are speaking to the issues of the groups that were just on your map across the room there. We are speaking to making sure that the economy works for everyone, for the middle class and for those who are not even in the middle class yet. We are talking about policies that support families. We are talking about and going to do something about immigration reform.
We're
going to do something about reforming the criminal justice system.
The point is, Catherine, there is a sizable part in the middle of the country that aren't, you know, fervent Donald Trump fans, but aren't near your party, that really want to be spoken to by the Democrats, who want them in the middle ground, properly in the middle ground of politics. They're not speaking to them.
Well, if you're talking, though, about these new constituents, we are speaking to them. And if you're talking about close elections, which this one might be, and it might not be so close, then we're talking, then I'll have to go back to talk about the overseas vote again, which of course is what I know the
We've
most
done that
about.
so many times. Now,
Yeah.
haven't you been helped by the fact that Donald Trump insulted every single Latino in
Right,
America?
of
And
course.
I mean, you know, you can't put the lack of black turnout down to the fact that you haven't got a black candidate. You should be speaking to those particular demographics in better ways.
But we are, because some of the problems that minorities are facing in the United States are economic problems. And we are dealing with the economy in a way that is making it stronger and that is making it something that's going to work for every family in the United States. I mean, we've had how many months now of job growth? We have inflation down. We have unemployment down. These are speaking to the issues that matter to these groups that you've just been talking about.
I mean, I think sure, the Democratic Party needs to improve. Fear of Trump alone is not enough.
Right.
And had this been any other candidate within the Democratic side, they should have easily defeated Trump. Some of the things that he's saying. The issue we have here also is that, you know, Hillary has high unfavorability ratings. She's a polarizing figure in America. So there's a lot of people that don't like her for whatever reason, because she's been in the spotlight for so many years. She's taken on issues in the past. Had this been Bernie Sanders, for example, I think it wouldn't have been, had not been a contest. He would have easily defeated Trump.
You think he could have reached across into the middle?
So a lot of it is that, you know, the average American, the average working American, the labor person, they see the Clintons as out of touch with the values of the Democratic Party per se. So I think, and Bernie Sanders has helped through, you know, the convention to be able to bring her back to some of those issues that Democrats care about. You know, and I was at that convention. I was originally a Bernie Sanders delegate. I was there rooting for Bernie Sanders. He was my favorite candidate. But at the end, when we have a candidate like Trump on the other side, we have no choice but to go with Hillary Clinton. So I think a lot of it that, you know, the party has had difficulty being able to take advantage of these mishaps by Trump and his weaknesses is due to the fact who Hillary Clinton is herself.
Yeah, I mean,
But Bernie Sanders has said himself that Bernie and Hillary have much more in common
Of course.
than we do with the other side. So
Bernie
has
and
been a
Lindsey Graham
huge
has
help.
more in common
But interestingly,
than,
I mean,
Trump.
just a couple of days ago, Barack Obama essentially said, I think he was speaking to Al Sharpton, just hold your nose and vote. I mean, he's been out stumping for him. He's not a ringing endorsement, is it?
Exactly. I mean, I think that what we're seeing
say
here
that.
is that you have a situation where we're always talking about how the Republicans now have lost Latinos, they've lost single women. Looks like they might lose Asians. They've already lost blacks. But I think also we have to consider the fact that, I mean, Democrats have lost white, non-college voters. 30 points. I mean, that is
And it's a
absolutely
huge
massive.
part.
They're not able to speak to that audience. I don't know if exactly the reasons for that occurring, and I don't know exactly whether the Democrats actually have an answer for that. But I do think that polarization is somewhat symptomatic of where we're going, and I don't know how either party is going to do
And
it.
Austin, that leads to the kind of alienation that lots of these Trump supporters have spoken about. They feel completely disenfranchised, so they cling to a man like Donald Trump.
Absolutely, and again, a lot of these voters that are supporting Donald Trump don't even like him. But what they do see in him is the symbol of these establishments burning down, the establishments coming down and looking for a restructuring in politics in both parties. Because yes, the media does like to harp on the divide in the Republican Party, but there is a huge divide in the Democratic Party, and especially between the Bernie camps and the Clinton camps. And I think the Democrats are going to be very disappointed as far as turnout goes with the Bernie supporters. I mean, we go back to the DNC convention, and that convention opened up with absolute corruption being leaked through emails showing the Democratic Party, even though Hillary Clinton probably wouldn't have lost to Bernie Sanders anyways without interference. But here the Democratic Party is rigging the system against
Just to
Bernie
remind
Sanders.
our viewers, that was Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
That was the chairman of the party.
Who had
but
to
then
resign as a part-
who was forced to resign and then brought on to the Clinton campaign immediately after. And then Donna Brazile replaced Donna Wasserman Schultz. And then look what happened now. Now Donna Brazile, now we have more emails coming out showing that she was helping in rigging the system too by giving Hillary Clinton the debate questions against Bernie Sanders. So the Democratic Party is wrought with corruption. And it's coming
Bernie
out
is out
and it's
stumping for
coming out.
Hillary,
It is coming out on a
and
daily
President Obama
basis.
and Michelle Obama
but
are out
he's had to,
stumping
hasn't
with
he?
ringing
He
endorsements
doesn't
of
have a
Hillary
choice.
Clinton.
But the
I mean,
fact
look
is you have
at
Bernie
Obama's
supporters
speech
that
in Ann
are
Arbor,
disenfranchised.
2 days ago. It's a ringing endorsement.
fantastic orator, isn't he?
It was a fantastic speech, talking
just
about she's uniquely qualified for this job, and Donald Trump is uniquely unqualified, and he gives
Talking
all the
points.
reasons.
Okay, look,
Talking points.
Yeah.
I'll move quickly because
Sure.
we're
When you're
coming up to the top of the
comparing Trump versus Hillary, obviously it's no contest. She's more qualified, but she has this high unfavorability rating, which she's dealing with. But let's also not undermine or forget about the economy. People are suffering. They're going to Donald Trump because he thinks he can bring something different. They're fed up and frustrated with the gridlock in Washington. Things are not getting done, which the Republicans have contributed to. They were known to be the party of no for 8 years and has made Americans suffer. So I think whoever is able to change the economy and improve people's lives will be the one that earns the people's support in the future.
Guys, we'll leave it there. Another great debate. Let's go to